Today is from the book of Matthew, chapter 4, verses 18 through 22. As he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of people." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. As he went from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, in the boat with their father Zebedee, mending their nets, and he called them. Immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. Here ends the reading of God's holy word.
Thank you so much, Kim, for reading this morning. Have you heard it? No, not my cell phone ringing. Have you heard it? Some of my friends heard it loud and clearly. They can exactly pinpoint and they can exactly tell you when, where, and the time it happened. Because they experienced the God call just like I had in my pocket. They can tell you and share with you whenever you want to, or maybe not want to, how exactly it happened. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of jealous. I'm envious because I want God to call me more. Maybe not on a Sunday morning in church, but wouldn't it be great to have an experience just like these fishermen had in our stories? When you had two sets of brothers who were just at work doing what they're doing because they're fishermen, they've cast out their nets in the sea. What else would they be doing? And then Jesus just comes by, he sees them, he calls them, and they follow. We've heard the story many, many times probably before. It's in all four Gospels, always at the beginning of Jesus' ministry. Matthew and Mark must have copied from each other. They're very, very similar. And Luke embellished a little bit more. And John, well, he's John. He got two names wrong. In his gospel, it is Nathanael and Philip who call him. Think like, where does he get that from? Not even anywhere close to the other names. But in a way, it doesn't really matter who these people were. It matters that they were called. It probably was a Tuesday, maybe a Thursday, and they did what they always did. Probably kissed their wives goodbye, said bye to their kids, went to work, and probably did not think that this is the day when Jesus is going to call them. Because after all, they were the lowest on the totem pole. They were fishermen. They didn't have an education. They didn't have a list of references. They didn't go to school to be trained fishermen. Because who wanted to be a fisherman? It's not on your top career list where you have to go to Yale in order to be a fisherman. This is an unskilled labor. And at that time of the Roman occupation, you had to pay a lot of taxes / fish to the Romans. So who wanted to do that? And there he goes. Jesus just comes and calls. That's all what we know. And then just left everything behind and kept on going. No second doubts, no thinking about who is going to pay my bills, what is going on with the house, what else is going to go with my business, nothing. They just left. Good for them. I wonder why. Why did Jesus call them? We don't know. However, it is really interesting to think about. I know we have some high schoolers here, juniors and seniors, who are thinking about what to do next. College applications. Big thing going on. And you have to have a good GPA, good SAT, extracurricular affairs, or writing all these college applications. And which college do you go to? It's a huge, huge process. Similar, but different to our story today. Our story today, Jesus just comes and says, come over here. However, However, in all the other ways, if you were going to be a disciple, you had to do what all our high school students do if you were going to go to college. You had to apply for it. You had to choose which teacher do I want to follow, or which school do I want to go. What are my criteria? What is going to be my resume? Who are going to be my references? Can I be on trial period? Maybe even do I get a scholarship? All that. And Jesus is just switching it upside down. Not at all like a college application. Jesus just comes and follows. Called, and they do what Jesus asked them to do. Like in my cell phone, it's one thing just to let it ring. But what are we doing when we hear that call? What are we doing if God calls again and again and again because we missed the call, or we think we are not good enough to answer it, or God really cannot mean us because, after all, my GPA wasn't that high? Here is the trick to what is going to happen. And just today, a few minutes ago, we said yes to more than 80 people from age 70 to over 80 who said, yes, I heard that call to serve here in this church, serving on boards, committees, and on council. Granted, you're not leaving your whole family behind. No, you don't need that. No worries about it. No worries about it. There might be just a meeting or two in between, and, who else, whatever else is needed to work in the church. Thank you for that. Because I know you were seen, you were called, and most importantly, you said yes to the nominating committee. Thank you, nominating people, for being like Jesus, just asking them. And thank you, people, for saying yes. And then we commissioned 4 Stephen ministers. I want to thank you personally as well. And I remember we have had a couple of conversations going on. At the fall, in the beginning of fall, before you took the training, some of you were doubting. Is this really something for me? I am not that good. I don't have enough faith. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? Well, maybe I can just do the class, but that's just it, and don't go on. I am so proud of you that you said yes. Not only for taking the class, which is one thing, but now for standing here in front of God and all the people and saying, yes, I want to do this. I feel called. And you answered. To be a Stephen minister, or to be on a committee, to be on a board, to be on council. Thank you. And there's one quote I'd like to share with you by Nadia Bolz-Weber, one of the Lutheran ministers. God doesn't call the qualified. God qualifies the called. God doesn't call the qualified. God qualifies the called. So thank you. Because God calls you, and then, just with a quote, God qualifies. God empowers you, equips you to go a step further. And not all of you might be serving on a committee, board, or council, but there are many, many other ways in which you serve. People in the nursery, singing in the choir, and people who love to bake and to cook for faith missions, people who provide rides for others to go to a doctor's appointment, babysitting so that other moms can play bells in the morning. So thank you so much for that. And of course, the little chair. There's so many of us looking at you. All the many, many ways in which you serve. Some of you are very good with numbers. Thank you. Because we need the numbers people who crunch them all and who love to be surrounded by numbers and do all the business work. Thank you for that. Some of you just love to sort, and all the rummage sale is coming up soon. Just wait. If you love to sort, if you love to be organized, Rummage sale people, there is a good opportunity to serve. Some of you like to teach, not only the little kids, but adults as well. Thank you for that, because God qualifies you who are called. And then there are so many people who serve God outside of the church. I know of people who took a pay cut because they said, I need to follow my conscience. I need to do what I feel I'm called to do, to serve those where I feel they need me, where I feel I'm serving the underprivileged, or those who otherwise wouldn't get the care they deserve. Thank you for that. Because God's calls comes with consequences. And thank you for the many ways in which you follow, even though sometimes it's a little bit uncomfortable. And I was telling on about my friends who have a very particular call story, just like we have the two sets of brothers in our story. Yes, I'm a little jealous, because it wasn't like that for me at all. And I do not, Pastor Susan can tell her own story. For me, it was more like a nudging, a knocking, a pulling, a pushing. A lot of arguments between God and me. There were a lot of phone calls like that. But a lot of times, like laying in bed at night, and thinking like, God, you must be kidding me. Call someone else. There's so many other more attractive jobs out there, like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, every weekend off. That would be brilliant. And you know I'm an introvert. God, that's really difficult, really challenging. No, God, I'm sure you have the wrong number here. Try again next time. And that pulling and that nudging and that prodding kept on going and going and going. And I don't know about you, but if you ever had an argument with God, just kept on going, I finally gave up because God just won. And after I submitted, it was so much easier. No, it was not all easy, just like a cakewalk. But that particular nudging and nudging and prodding, that was put aside till there was some other nudging and prodding and pulling and pushing. A little bit out of my comfort zone, yes. And now the question is, what are we doing as a community, as United Church of Christ, serving here in Westerville? All of us that we are called. How do we follow as Westerville Community United Church of Christ in the year 2023, in January, with a brand new council and people on committees and boards? How do we do God's will? And all what I ask you to do is keep on listening. And then, after you hear that call, please say yes. It's so worth it. Thank you, and amen.